Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Please feel free to write me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding to this video or any other videos that I have posted in the past. If you have any video that you would like me to make, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. We love cold hot salmon. It is probably one of our favorite salmon. Recently, the local grocery store had the cold hot salmon on sale. It was about 50% off. So I purchased 1 1/4 pound. Now my wife loves salmon. She can eat salmon every single day. With 1 1/4 pound of salmon that we purchased, I can divide them into 3 separate meals. I cut the salmon into small pieces because I discovered that it is much easier to cook them. And first of all, you cook them faster, and you can also control their doneness and texture much better. So the first night when I cook the salmon, I cook it in a stir-fry dish, which is a salmon with broccoli and 2 different kinds of mushrooms. And for tonight, I'm going to try something I have never tried before. I'm going to cook a salmon fried rice. Okay, let me show you how this salmon fried rice works. In order to cook this salmon fried rice correctly, I need to cook the salmon in advance. I use my basic template for cooking salmon, which I pan fry the salmon, or I call it shallow fry the salmon. Now this method is really advantageous because it will allow you to eat the skin of the salmon as well. Now you know that when you grill salmon, the skin of the salmon can be crispy, and you can create the same effect in the wok. So in this case, I fried the salmon with the skin side down first in my wok, and I fried it until it starts to turn crispy. Now this has a distinct advantage because most people do not like to eat the salmon skin, particularly when they are baked, because the skin tends to be fatty. But use this method, I'm able to dry out the fats from the skin, and at the same time, I'm going to crisp the skin as well. The crispy texture of the salmon skin actually has great flavor. In fact, after I cook it this way, my wife prefers this than any other method that I cook them. The only method that I think it might parallel to this is grilling. But since I don't grill very often, this is probably the best way for me to create the kind of texture that my wife would like. So in this case, by cutting the salmon into small pieces, that has distinct advantage. First of all, you can cook it much faster. Instead of taking about 5 or 10 minutes to cook a piece of salmon, if it is in a whole piece, I'm able to cook this in about 2 to 3 minutes. And that not only saves time, but it also allows me to control the texture and doneness of individual pieces of the salmon. As you can see, in this particular case, I char the skin of the salmon really well, and the flavor turned out to be truly excellent. Okay, in about 2 or 3 minutes, the salmon is done. I'm going to set them aside. Now I'm ready to cook the fried rice. Now you probably noticed that there's quite a bit of oil left at the bottom of the wok. Actually, there's more oil here than what I started with. This oil actually coming from the salmon. Now this oil is nutritious because it's high in omega-3 fatty acid, which is one of the nutritional aspects contributed by salmon. I'm going to use this directly to fry the egg, and might as well I'll take advantage of the oil that comes from the salmon. I'm going to fry 5 eggs in it. Now this dish is going to be our main dish, so I'm going to add a lot of eggs that will give us the proteins that we need. I'm going to just simply scramble the egg. Now there are many different ways to add eggs to your fried rice. This is one of the approach that one can take. Now this method is probably the simplest method because I don't need to beat up the egg. I can add the egg directly to the wok. It makes it much simpler and more efficient, but also it gives the egg an interesting texture. Again, you can try use different method. At first, I'm going to season the egg with a little bit of salt. Again, you can add as much as you want. And then I'm going to add a umami flavor to the egg by adding my basic seasoning mix. The basic seasoning mix is excellent for egg. The seasoning mix is very mild in flavor, but it enhances the savoriness of the egg. This makes the eggs much more tastier than otherwise. Okay, now the egg is done. I'm going to add rice. This is jasmine rice that has been stored in the refrigerator for about 48 hours. I'm going to add about 3 cups of rice. Now, when you cook fried rice, it's very important that the rice has to be dry. If you cook fried rice with the rice that are freshly cooked, it would be a disaster because the rice will stick and burn to the bottom surface of the wok. By leaving them in the refrigerator, it will dry them out. And this is why leftover rice is perfect for fried rice. Usually 24 hours will do the job, but quite often I will store it for about 48 hours. I use this nifty tool, frequently known as a hamburger meat smasher. It basically allows you to mash up things. And normally it's used for mash up the hamburger meat when you make spaghetti sauce or make chili. But it turned out that it is great for breaking up the rice when you make fried rice. It definitely reduces the mess. If you try to break it up with your wok spatula, quite often you're going to have rice all over on your kitchen counter, and quite often it will off on your floor as well. Okay, now the rice is pretty much broken up. I'm going to add some bits of broccoli. Now this is a good way to use up the broccoli that in this case it comes from a bag of broccoli that I purchased. There are some bits that are broken off from the floret. Instead of throwing away, I save them. The next, I'm going to add some shiitake mushroom. Now, shiitake mushroom, normally I cut them into thin slices, but in this way, I chop them up into small chunks to fit the fried rice. This is followed by some minced ginger. Now, both the shiitake mushroom and the ginger is my wife's all-time favorite food ingredients. I know what she likes. This is flavor chasing, in this case for my wife, even though I am not a fan for ginger, but I think I come to like it more and more simply because I cook for her. Now this is one thing that you can do with home cooking, because if you go eat out and get a fried rice, first of all, you will not be able to have the type of ingredients that you want. And secondly, I want to emphasize about flavor chasing is that the best way to do flavor chasing is use the food ingredients of the flavor that you would like. Instead of using ginger powder, for example, to create ginger flavor, it's much better to use fresh ginger because they have much greater nutritional value as well as they're more flavorful. So think of flavor chasing that using fresh ingredient as a way to approach that. Okay, now it is almost done. Next, I add some frozen vegetable mix. This contains carrots, green beans, sweet corn, and sweet peas. I take this directly from the freezer to the wok. The frozen vegetable mix will provide both color as well as additional texture to the fried rice. The sweet corn usually give a nice sweet flavor to the fried rice. Now, I've just mixed everything up at this point to make sure that the frozen vegetable are warm up properly to the temperature that I want. Okay, the final step is to add the salmon. Now you notice that I have cut up the salmon, or maybe I should say I tear up the salmon into small pieces so that I can mix it together with the fried rice. As you can see here, the salmon is really not the main ingredients of this fried rice, but it serves as a condiment. It adds flavor to this fried rice. Now, I never had salmon fried rice before I cooked this dish, and I can tell you, just looking at it, I know it's going to be delicious. A few more mix, it's almost ready. I did a quick taste test. I decided I'm going to just add a touch of oyster sauce, about maybe 1 tablespoon. You notice that I normally do not measure because I like to cook with more intuition than with rigid measurement. And this will allow me to make adjustment changes more readily. The final step is some chopped up scallion, and the dish is done. Now the total cook time of this dish is about 10 minutes. Now it's just longer than most other dishes that I cook, and the reason is that I basically cook 2 dishes. I cook the salmon first, and then I cook the fried rice, and I combine the salmon and the fried rice together. Now this type of approach of stir frying is a more sophisticated approach, and frequently people call it a combinatorial stir frying. Maybe that's what I call it, because you combine different stir-fry dishes into one. Now the advantage you probably can see right away, because you can control the texture and the doneness of each of the ingredients separately. In the case of salmon, you want to pay attention to the salmon so you do not overcook or undercook them. Of course, there's really no way for you to put the salmon directly to the fried rice when you cook the fried rice. So by combining them two separate stir-fry dishes together, you can create really complex dishes. Last but not the least, I'm going to garnish it with some fresh scallion that I cut into strips. Now this is where advanced prepping really comes in. Now the reason I can use this scallion like this because I cut them up as part of my advanced prepping, and this scallion turned out to be really useful for garnishing dish, and it gives you a nice fresh flavor. How did it turn out? It turned out great. My wife really enjoyed this fried rice, and she particularly liked the ginger and the shiitake mushroom. We finished up this fried rice almost completely, just a little bit left for my lunch the next day. Efficiency for home cooking is essential because if you know you can put a meal on the table in less than 30 minutes, then you're most likely able to do it on a regular basis. And using my fast cooking system, you will also improve the flavor of your dish constantly. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. And in this case, because of the template-based cooking as well as flavor chasing, I'm able to come up with this salmon fried rice, even though I have never cooked it before, but I know right in the beginning that it's going to turn out to be great. I post a video each day to demonstrate that it is possible to cook every single day, that you can make home cooking as part of your daily routines. So if you'd like to learn more about my cooking system, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.